Are you ready?
Let's do it.
John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, pull a UE, park in front of the music store with the red neon light, just like Kris Jensen did today. You know what I'm saying? Like and subscribe, tell your friends, be on the podcast with me, reach out, let's do it. And you could have your very own podcast here in a beautiful studio. Dave will tell you how we are here today. I finally got him. Mr. Kris Jensen, sax player. There he is. There he is, kids. Check it out. Check it out. He emanated from somewhere.
In the electric chair.
Yeah, to be here. No. This is a happy place, man. This is a happy place. No, Kris Jensen, I'm glad. You were on the original list from the beginning.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, it is. But, now you're really on the list.
Before Bernard Purdy?
Probably. That was not even a pipe dream. I didn't even know that was even going to happen. So, yes, you probably were, But none of that matters now because here you are. Sax player. What else? What else would you want to be known as at this time?
What else would I want to be known as?
Yeah, now's your chance.
Innocent.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, make believe is important. Wow.
So my wife was like, it's like, how are you going to talk for an hour? It's like, you don't even talk to me for 5 minutes.
Whoa. Well, I don't want to interfere in your marriage.
She actually didn't say that, but I'm sure she thought that.
Well, no,
and I'm getting a kick out of it.
No, it's fine, man.
I'm not a big talker.
Well, that's okay. We could sit here in silence. That'd be fine. That would be fine.
But I know you like to talk.
Oh, I love to talk. Oh, I love it. Yeah. I talk even when I know no one's listening. They just talk more. Yeah. Yeah, I have that same issue with my wife. She's just like, and I realize that actually, she's like, she doesn't talk that much. She's like, I'm just not, I don't like hear people working their thoughts out with their mouth hole. And that's what I do. And it's kind of like jazz. Like I'm formulating the thing.
You've met Robbie. You guys need to, you guys could chew each other's ears off.
Right. But my wife is thoughtful. Like she doesn't speak until she's got something to say. And I've never had anything to say.
That's how I am.
Wow.
But usually I don't even speak when I have something to say.
Wow. What's your problem? Why? You're like, I let the music do the talking. Yeah. But sax player for sure. That much I know.
Well, it's definitely hiding behind, you're hiding behind that piece of metal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. As opposed to the metal bars prison that we usually earn. How did it? So what do you? Well, I want to talk about. We're going to talk about Dickie Betts because you played with Dickie for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get to that. How do we get there? How did it all? Where did you grow up? How did it all start?
Oh, wow.
We're
going to go all the way back there.
Why not? Unless it's.
I was born and raised in Binghamton, New York.
Oh wow. I don't even know where that is.
It's upstate.
Albany?
It is. It's. They call it the Southern Tier, which is actually the long section that goes across the Pennsylvania border.
Yep.
And I literally was like, I don't know, a stone's throw from the Pennsylvania border.
Oh, that's cool.
And Binghamton was cool when I was coming up because they had a university there.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of, it's just a little hick town, but there's a lot of influence coming from New York City.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot because of that connection, which was very cool.
A lot of music.
Yeah, a lot of music, and I grew up with a whole bunch of super talented people. Notably Steve Davis, who really is the reason why I came to Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
Because he was a year ahead of me, and he decided he wanted to go into music and study jazz, and he sought out Jackie McLean at the University of Hartford.
Gotcha.
And then the following year, he was telling me how great it was and everything, and I was doing my searches, considering Manhattan School of Music and New England Conservatory. It's a pretty good classical player, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I had a great classical saxophone teacher up there. Excuse me. Her name was April Lucas.
Hey.
And they were associated with the university. So I had this wonderful opportunity to study with these people at the university. This guy, Al Ham, who just passed away, he was like sort of the head guy there. He ran the jazz department and taught woodwind instruments.
So you grew up there and then went to school?
Yeah, so I mean, so all of us kids in high school, so there was Steve Davis, trombone player, who was,
sure,
played with everybody. He's a jazz legend in his own generation right now.
Yeah.
Tony Cadlick, who is like the main trumpet player in New York City, just period.
Yep.
I mean, he basically is the contractor for brass for, I don't know if that's the right terminology,
sure.
But he basically contracts he's the main contractor for Broadway.
Oh, wow.
And he's always got a show that he's doing.
Sure.
But he also plays with the Maria Schneider Orchestra, and he does all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
John Hollenbeck, he ended up going to the University of Rochester, and then he lived in New York City. But he was nominated for Grammys for jazz percussionist.
Hey, so you were right in the spot.
Oh my gosh, it was ridiculous, and it was like everybody says it was something in the water at that time. Just the timing was right. Tom Dempsey, great guitar player. Dina DeRose, who's super famous singer, pianist.
And then you heard about Jackie McLean
through Steve Davis, yeah. And so that's how I ended up in Hartford.
And what year?
86.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you came to Hartford, how far along were you in school?
Well, I started at University of Hartford as a freshman.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
To study jazz.
Oh, okay.
So
that's kind of heavy. So that was the place to be.
Yeah.
Because of Jackie, who else was there?
Nat Reeves.
Okay.
Rick Rossi. Jackie Byard.
Okay.
Hotep from South Africa. He went by Cecil Bernard and by Hotep Galetta. He played with Hugh Masekela and amongst many others. They all a lot of them ended up in Jackie's band at one. Yeah, even Rick was in Jackie's band at some point. And I got to hang out with Lee Pack, man.
Yeah, yeah.
He was really, really nice to me. He kind of took me under his wing, even though I was a saxophone player, but he featured me with the big band a whole bunch of times when I was just like, I'm not ready for this. But he did it, and it was really special. So the Lee Packs are very special in the whole family.
Cool. That's cool.
And then it's like I didn't understand I didn't know all the history, the wild weeds and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just amazing. It's like, and it's just the longer you're here,
yeah.
As much as I was trying to get out of Connecticut, after school, I just ended up coming back still. But then I would find out these different connections that I never really knew about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So it was very cool.
And then you just ended up like, okay, I'm going to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you have gone? New York City?
Well, yeah. I mean, I tried my wings in New York.
Sure.
And but I always kept the umbilical cord to Connecticut because I always had was teaching for a couple of days or something like that. And
Yeah,
I was
right.
actually Jackie McLean's assistant for quite a few years.
Hey, that's cool.
So during those years, that was a whole nother thing. A whole slew of these incredible saxophone players, Jimmy Green, Wayne Escoffery, those two big stars in the jazz world now. Julius Tolentino, who's doing great things as both a player and an educator in New Jersey. There's tons of guys.
Yeah, right.
Nicholas Biello, Andy Breskin. This I was afraid to go here because there's people I'm leaving out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. What's going on now, I wonder, in that scene?
I don't know if I want to go there. I'm not really involved with it at all.
Okay.
I was sort of I was let go because when I joined Dickie Betts, they just thought my priorities were.
So you ended up teaching over there.
Yeah.
By the time you were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I was an associate professor.
Oh wow.
And well, Chris Allen ended up taking over for me. And that's another great. Chris Allen.
Yeah.
Has been doing great things.
Cool.
who's from West Hartford, actually.
So there's still things happening.
Oh, absolutely. The saxophonist Javon Jackson took over the program up there.
Okay.
So.
But then you never went back to Binghamton?
Not regularly, no.
Yeah.
No.
So Hartford was the place to be at that time?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
And
Why?
then, I mean, I did a couple of years in college. I went on cruise ship,
Yep.
Came back.
Yep.
Started, I came back because I had a gig with Motown Review.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And back when it was Motown Review.
You know Bob Marston? You work
Absolutely.
with Bob? Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well, we
funny.
worked I think we worked with Bob.
Did we?
With Jeff.
I can't remember.
At some point.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I forget all
what
the
a great
dots
guy.
are connected. Yeah, yeah.
He told me that story about, about Leno mentioned. Well, it's not a story.
Right.
Leno mentioned him in his autobiography. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
He used to hang out in
car
Boston.
buffs.
Right?
Yeah, they're into cars.
That's
so
right.
That's the thing. Yeah, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's wild.
But like I said, once all of a sudden, like right here, laying stuff out,
Yeah.
Oh, Gene Donaldson was in the band. He was like, "Oh, I went to Hart School of Music. I played baritone horn." I was like, "You played baritone horn?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So everybody's connected.
Yep. Everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
Except me. I'm not connected to anything. I refuse to be connected. Wow.
Dude, I used to when I was living in the West End, man.
Yeah.
My thing was probably in those days I was maybe getting out of bed at 10:15 or 10:30, which is pretty good for a musician.
Yeah.
In their
Yeah.
early
I'm like,
20s,
why so early?
In their early 20s. And I'd make my way over to this place, Bagels East.
Wow.
Religiously, and I would read the Advocate, man. And you were the star, man.
Oh, wow.
You were like
whatever. You're like, who's this?
John
jerk?
Peckman, man. It was like you were like
The fix was in. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
grand
Poobah.
Advocate Grand Slam winner, like what 5 years in a
Yeah,
row for
something-
drums or
something
something
like
like that.
that.
No,
Yeah.
it was cool though. Even Tony Leone was
Whoa.
like John Peckman, like back
Really?
in those days. Yeah, you were,
I don't know what people say. It was 8 to the bar.
You were a force to be reckoned with, man.
Hey, look at me now. Now I'm easy to be reckoned with. Yeah, no, I mean, it was most of it. I mean, whatever. 8 to the bar. I had a high profile gig at that time, so people knew, and whatever. I started to get to the point. I was talking to Jeff Brown.
Yes, I do know
Yeah,
Jeff. I
and
haven't seen him recently, but
and John Corvo and stuff. I used to feel there was, and man, talk about me, but there was a point when I still had the inertia, and I kept winning past the point where I'm just kind of like, it's cool. And then I would start giving shout outs to when I would do the thing. I would be like Jeff Brown, John Corvo, because it was like enough already, but whatever. Yeah. And you'd be like, man, what with this dude? Yeah. Yeah. I was really something. I guess we all were at some point. But yeah, that's cool. Motown Review back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember those days. It's insane. Why jazz? How does that happen?
I mean, I knew when I was young that I was going to play music. And
were your parents musical?
they were musical. My dad was a little more. He had some more formal training. He sang beautifully.
Oh, yeah?
We grew up in a Lutheran church, and he sort of led. He wasn't like a choir director, but he sort of led the congregation with his voice. So it was like automatic training for like playing like lead alto.
Oh, wow.
Even though he didn't have he was a baritone. But he just knew how to just stick out enough not to be obnoxious, and people would kind of follow his,
Yeah.
He sang, and he got that from his father and my grandfather also, apparently. I don't think I ever heard my grandfather sing, but they said they used to go up to the Adirondacks, and when he'd sing like the pop music, standards of the time.
Yeah.
So that's their thing. That's something they did. One of my brothers played trumpet, but he didn't get serious about it. Another one of my brothers played violin. he didn't get serious about it. My sister, who passed away in a car wreck in '79, she was she was a little more dedicated and practiced harder and took lessons. And so, you know, being the youngest, just hearing even even your old even the ones that didn't get serious, it's like you start hearing your older siblings practice, and you realize, oh, there's a thing, there's something you have to do, and you know, and my sister obviously she was more organized, so I probably learned more about the process from her.
Wow.
But and that's what I realize when I teach now. It's just like these kids don't understand. There's so much they don't get about playing, and I try to tell them, but they just don't necessarily get it. It's like they just think you get your instrument out and you put the music in front of you and you start playing notes, and it's like we do that, but it's like there's more to that. I mean, play some notes before you start. You know,
wow, yeah.
You know, just play some notes on your instrument.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah. What maybe is it kids? But someone told you that. Did they tell you that?
Oh yeah.
Or,
I mean, you know. Plus, I mean, I took private lessons. I took private.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I had great teachers. And there was a whole network. All the teachers. I mean, this happens everywhere, pretty much.
Yeah.
But they all were like steering us and trying to help us get in this certain spot. Well, you should be here now. You should be here now.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up going to, you know, I didn't take classes at SUNY Binghamton, which is now Binghamton University. But like this guy, Al Ham, he had a summer program, a jazz program that was great. And he would do 1 week with local musicians teaching, and then he would bring in a featured artist 1 year. So the first year that I was aware of it, and I didn't go, he had Woody Herman's Heard.
Wow, yeah.
And that kind of got the buzz going. And so the next year he had this great trombonist, Bob Brookmeyer, who was also a composer. I figured you probably wouldn't know him, but you know, he wrote for Thad Jones, Mel Lewis, and he was just incredible. And he had a young Joe Lovano and Dick Oates, Nussbaum.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted Danny Gottlieb, but he ended up subbing because Gottlieb was busy.
Sure.
So, and that was in the early 80s.
Wow. So. Always tenor with you? How did you land there?
I mean, I play all of them now.
Okay.
And I've always sort of dabbled. I played lead alto in college.
Oh, okay.
After I played tenor for a while. I went on cruise ships. I played alto. I played lead alto.
Oh, okay.
Tenors is because I spent more time on it and I learned more tunes and stuff on it for ear purposes. My fingers go to B flat fingerings. Okay. You know.
Yeah.
Quicker than like baritone. I really get lost sometimes for some reason.
Oh, okay.
It gets kind of frustrating. That's why I kind of have to be reading baritone parts.
I gotcha. Because you don't think baritone.
Exactly. Even though the fingerings are the same, but the transposition is different. You know.
What does that mean?
So a G on the baritone is a G on the tenor, but a G on the baritone is a B flat and a B flat concert, and a G on the tenor is an F. I think I said that right.
Yeah, I can't. You could say anything.
I get lost.
Yeah.
I'm sort of dyslexic.
So you get carried. So you're like, like you said, I got the fingerings, but then the note is not the right, not the note you're imagining that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess some cats, you just have to. You got to do it all, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you don't.
You absolutely do.
But you can. You just end up on tenor.
I mean, you know, when I was, I think 7th grade, I started clarinet. I got a flute, you know, so I'm familiar with those, you know.
Yeah.
I took a lot of lessons, especially clarinet. I had a great teacher named Vincent Smith.
Cool.
And then when I got here, I studied with a great guy who had been with the symphony. I can't think of his name right now. He was such a great guy. He had MS while I studied with him at Hart. Hank Larson, I think was his name.
Oh,
Such a wonderful guy, man. He's a really great guy, and he really, despite him having MS, he worked so hard, and made sure he got there and was there for his students.
Cool.
Very inspirational.
Yeah. Yep.
He would drop everything to help a student.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I had a few like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't go to college, but it's important.
Yeah.
To have
Absolutely
good teachers for real. So there you are.
I mean, the whole culture up at Hart was great.
Yeah.
When I was there, I'm just speaking for when I was there. I'm not saying,
sure.
I'm sure it's, but everybody, some people liked it, some people didn't.
Yeah. What was most challenging about, like, what would be challenging about it that some people would not be into?
Well, I mean, there was actually a lot of freedom up there, and there wasn't a lot of structured stuff, and some people wanted more structured stuff.
Gotcha.
But that also kind of worked because it freed your time up to be able to not be so stressed out about everything. But after I graduated, they gradually made the curriculum more difficult.
Oh.
So like,
Yeah.
5, 8, 10 years after I graduated, the curriculum was, it's really
more.
it was a lot more.
Right. They're just trying to be more competitive or whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know much about that. It's kind of wild. So you got involved playing in kind of the local scene.
Well, the funny thing is I was there for a couple of years at Hart, and then I came back, and I immediately got the Motown Revue gig, and then I was there for about a month, and then they cut me because another more experienced player decided he wanted to do it.
Oh no!
And so I got kind of sad after that, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I was like, wow, this is like regular work, And so. I mean, I opened up the Advocate and I looked musicians wanted.
Wow.
And this band was advertising for a saxophone player, and the band was called Out of Control.
Wow. Who was it?
And I can't remember the guy who led it, but he looked like John Denver.
Oh wow.
I think they rehearsed in Windsor.
See, that's already a problem because John Denver doesn't seem out of control. Although,
exactly.
I was going to say something horrible,
but
I'm not.
But Mark Couture, I believe, was playing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was just one of his,
sure.
10 million bands that he was in at that time.
Yeah. No, he's a good guy to know.
And I think Pat Belanger was playing trumpet.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that name.
No.
And these were just Connecticut guys.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience, is like being, hanging with just Connecticut
Who
guys.
was on drums? Do you remember?
I don't remember who was on drums.
Okay.
I know the bass player was Rob, who ended up playing with Motown Revue. I can't think of Rob's
I'll call
name.
Mark tonight and I'll ask him.
Right. Yeah.
He'll know.
He'll know.
Yeah, he will. Out of control.
Shout out to Mark Varlese.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeping that thing going.
Yeah. Yep. Who was on Stanley on drums?
Stanley was on the drums at that time.
Yep.
The front line was Lawford, Dean.
Oh yeah.
And Rick.
Wow.
Lawford, who I ended up actually joining his band, Major Motion, for many years. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of different great guys go through there. I learned a lot standing next to Lawford.
Is that right?
Standing next to Lawford, that's how I sort of learned to stand next to Maynard Ferguson and Dickie.
Wow.
Because I'm a nervous guy. So I just had to throw myself in there and start trying to act like I didn't seem nervous.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I got a showman's heart, but I'm not that much of a showman. So.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I kind of know the feeling, I guess.
Well, but you dance like James Brown. Yeah.
I did dance like James Brown. I sit like an old guy now. It's a whole different story. And you didn't mind, obviously not, I don't even know if there's such a thing, but obviously not a jazz snob. You're like, I want to work, so R&B.
That's really what it was. And, you know, I was torn also. Like, I should have been hanging out at the 880, like, all the time, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, I got to work, you know? And so, you know, but, you know, I would go and catch Donnie on Thursdays, you know. He had his guest artist series, the great Donnie DePalma, you know. Those guys, I think there was also a Sunday jam session with Larry DeNatalie and Maddie Immersion. So, you know, I've always kept a toe with the jazz guys, and I get respect from the jazz guys. But and I made an original CD or recording, I should say.
Sure,
you know.
sure. Yeah, whatever.
I never released it. I'm proud of it. You know, it was a good freshman attempt.
Yeah,
you know?
That's cool.
And actually, the music on there is what got the attention of Dickie when he hired me.
Okay, all right. Well, you want to swing into that?
Well, before I talk about Dickie, I got to talk about J-Mo because.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know.
Yep.
And this is a great story.
Sure.
When I was living in New York City, I was like 22 or something like that. Must have been 89, 90 or something like that. And I was teaching out in Vernon.
Okay.
At Sebastian's Music with the family, the Varellos. Varellos, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. I was working 2 days out there and crashing at my friend Greg Banizak, great saxophone player.
Okay.
Who was still living in off New Britain Ave. So this one day I was driving from New York to Hartford. My car broke down in Larchmont.
Oh boy.
So I had to deal with that stress as a young man, and you know, how am I going to deal with this? And I don't even know how I did it actually. You know, I guess the cops saw me, and the tow truck came eventually because we didn't have cell phones, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just wait for someone to notice it. Wow. Can you imagine?
On 95.
I know. Can you? Yeah. It's so crazy.
So it got towed to a garage in Larchmont. Then I had enough money, I guess, to catch a bus to Hartford. Got in. It was kind of dark already. And I was like, well, I don't have enough for a cab. So I figured I'd walk from the bus station way, you know, to New Britain Ave. What street is that? Hillside.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a schlep.
Okay.
But you know,
you're like, hey
man,
man, yeah, everything has gone wrong.
And then on the way, I'm going up Washington Street to the end where it meets New Britain Ave, and there's that club. It wasn't Murphy Scarletti's or Scarlett O'Hara's. One of those names was in there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. That club wasn't there very long, but I heard music coming out.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I guess I can stop in here and, you know, get a beer.
Yeah.
And check out the music. And I walked in, and this guy gives me this look. He's wearing all black and got chains and stuff like that. And he was like, "Oh, you got a tenor?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, you should come hang out with us. Maybe sit in." I was like, "It's Chris Tofield."
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's like,
yeah, okay.
Wow. So there's my introduction to Chris Tofield. And then, so I go in the back room, and it was Sugar Ray, and there's like a million Sugar Rays.
Yeah,
one of the Sugar Rays from Rhode Island, who's a drummer, I think.
Yeah.
And they had their band playing blues, and there's this lady named Catherine that was playing drums, sitting in.
Do you know who that is, Dave?
Jambo's wife. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. See, yeah.
So before we get there, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And there's this black guy was sort of standing in the middle of the room, you know, with the arms crossed, like, you know, Chief a Cherokee chief or something that, and he had this braid, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's got a vibe, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, so yeah, do you know this guy? Do you know who this guy is? And I'm like, I don't know. And it's like, that's J-Mo from the Allman Brothers. I'm like, oh wow, cool.
Hey, cool.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, I know the Allman Brothers. I didn't know they had a black guy in the band.
Right.
So
wow.
thus begins that whole
Yeah.
era. You know, not that everything happened quickly, but I mean.
If your car never broke down and
exactly
right,
yeah, and what if I got a cab, you know?
Wow.
Or caught a city bus.
Crazy,
you know?
yeah.
Not that I would have run into those guys eventually anyway.
Yeah,
sure. But it was like it was just really cool how that whole thing went down. And then so I ended up sitting in. J-Mo's joking. He goes, "Man, you sound like Stan Getz." Which, you know, playing with a blues band, it's you don't really want to sound like Stan Getz. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just in the context,
right?
But I kind of I appreciated what he said, but I also realized he was like, you know, all right, yeah, I hear what you're doing.
Yeah. What would have been a better answer? You sound like who?
King Curtis,
right?
In that setting,
that's what I was thinking.
In that setting,
right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, sure.
And so I realized I had to get that together, and I had realized and let me think, that was like around the time when I was going through all that change. Well, I got hired by Motown Review, and then I got fired, but they hired me back like 6 months later.
Okay.
So, and the guy they hired was Danny Cipriano, who's a great saxophone player. But
sure.
they'd wanted Danny.
Yeah,
and then he was busy doing something else, and then they go, oh, this kid can play. Let's get him.
And then Danny comes back.
Then I ended up getting voted out again. But it's
sure.
Sure.
Well,
Danny was because I went to see them play at the Great American Cafe.
Yeah,
and that was, I mean, for me that age, coming from a hick town and seeing that show the way they had it, man, I was just like, wow.
Yeah,
this is a real
Dan Cipriano ain't shy.
Show man, and he like, I learned a lot. You know, he kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I have to start working on being able to play this style.
And he can play for real too, but he knows how to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, he was a real R&B player.
Okay.
Definitely. And I was trying to, and I still, for years was trying to still like wanting to be Dexter Gordon,
Yeah, sure.
But you just get some tricks here and there, and you start doing this, and I still consider myself just a utility guy. Like I don't really fit anything specifically.
Well, might be better off in a way.
Well, it's kept me working.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Um,
You're not pigeonholed as this or that.
Yeah.
Far out. So then, so now you're in J-Mo world, kind of.
Yeah, and J-Mo was always just so kind and would, call you occasionally and invite you out, come out to play. I played Lewis Street.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
He just said, come out, and it was this big thing that was going on. It was James Montgomery was playing. So once again, there's new people I'm starting to meet.
Sure.
I think Donnie DePalma was playing piano that night. It was kind of a funny mix of all the cats, different Connecticut guys. The sax player that was playing with Ron Lawrence a lot, Ricky Cunningham.
I think so.
Yeah. And so I met these guys, and like I was shaking in my shoes because J-Mo was like, hey, let's play duo. And J-Mo wanted to play like Coltrane,
Yeah, right.
I wasn't ready for that. So like I called like a Grover Washington tune or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was so open and so supportive that it wasn't like, oh man, let's play Blowout, Mr. PC or something like that.
Yeah.
And there are guys that could do that. Not so much at that moment. Like Abraham Burton came up shortly after, and that guy, incredible saxophone player. He's out there doing great stuff.
But J-Mo was cool with you.
Yeah, and he had developed a relationship with Tom Chapin.
Okay.
And Tom was really going for that, you know.
Yeah.
They would get into a lot of stuff, and so that was really tough when Tom had to check out for a lot of people.
And then that led to Dickie somehow.
Well,
somewhere.
That's right. I'm sorry. Dickie keeps getting brushed under the rug.
Well, no.
But not intentionally.
In order.
Yeah. So, fast forward. My second shot at trying to be in New York. The whole incident happened with the Allman Brothers, and then enter Dave Stoltz,
Right.
who was sort of the connection because he had become friends with Dickie because he had an audition spot at the same time that O'Teal was sort of being considered. O'Teal, of course, ended up getting that.
Yep.
There was no slouch.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But he developed a good friendship with Dickie. So when that whole thing went down, Dickie called Dave to help put a band together. And Dave made his suggestions.
Yeah.
It was myself and probably 2 or 3 other saxophone players. But I had just made that demo CD.
Okay.
I mean, it should have been a CD because I should have. I guess I could still go out.
Where'd you record it?
I recorded it at Sterling Sound Studios in Brooklyn.
Oh wow!
It's a place where a lot of guys that weren't on the higher budgets were making really. There's a lot of great records were made out of there. So where am I? So
Dave Stoltz is kind of putting it together.
Yeah, and I was very fortunate. I had made that, and it was a good project, and it impressed Dickie. He hired me just off the CD.
Wow.
And he,
hey, that's cool.
He just said, "Come down. Yeah, I like you. You're in."
So Dickie recognized jazz.
Oh my God,
in that way,
loved jazz.
Okay.
He's a Charlie Parker. Like his concept was, he wanted to kind of mix jazz, and
did you know that? I don't know
that that spot was like starting to happen.
Yeah.
But he would have had to change his whole way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to do it, but he couldn't do it. Like, it could have just brought the whole level down a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of being the Allman, the same thing that the Allman Brothers was. And make it more of a combo thing, because he was saying, well, we're going to be playing small rooms and not smaller rooms.
Yeah.
So he had the desire, but he just ended up sort of. I think it was something he wanted to try for, and so we tried it for a couple of years, and then it's like, I need to go back doing the arena stuff, big with a lot of guitars and everything.
Yeah.
So,
but it was so Ziner got involved.
That's right.
Right.
So
I remember when all that.
Ziner actually had to audition, and there's this guy Mike Koch who's great singer, pianist, and sounds much closer to Greg. That was actually kind of one reason Dickie picked Matt, because he thought, well, Matt's got something a little different, like. Mike Koch.
Yeah.
He's great, but he sounds a little too close to Greg.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh. So he didn't want it to be like, oh, I get it. You just have a Greg sound alike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But but Mike Koch ended up taking over after Matt Matt left. So he ended up getting in there, and I thought that that Mike was from Florida, but he was actually from Danbury.
Oh wow.
He ended up becoming a Floridian pretty much.
Yeah,
he moved down there when he was young, and he just soaked up the whole scene. And his whole thing was he wanted to be up around those guys.
Yeah.
So the way his wishes came true.
So Dickie was down in Florida.
Yeah, always Sarasota.
Yeah.
So,
and just trying to keep it all together.
Yeah.
Worked for a while.
Yeah.
Right? For a while.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, man. I had so many incredible experiences.
Yeah. Who was on drums?
Mark Greenberg.
That's right.
Yep.
I remember that.
I mean, we're doing a thing now, Great Southern Reunion.
Okay.
We did about 8 shows last year. This is with Matt and Dave, Matt Ziner, Dave Stoltz, Greenberg. Leroy Parnell is a front guy, who's a great Nashville, very well known in that scene.
Yeah.
And Willie Williams, this young kid, was great. He's from I think he's from Tennessee.
Okay.
Oh, he's from Virginia. Was
Junior on guitar?
No. But Junior's doing other stuff. Junior's busy playing with Friends of the Brothers or something like that.
Okay. That's cool. So, do you guys? What was the first thing? Make a record or get a show together or both or what?
Just get a show together.
Yeah. And what was it?
So we did a bunch of city wineries last summer.
Okay.
At the end of the summer. We have some stuff lined up for late in summer again.
Yeah.
One of them being Big E, which I think is already definitely booked.
Okay.
And I think I think Mark is doing the connection. And actually we have the support of Dickie's manager. His name is
that's cool.
right now. So So it's sort of we have a blessing. And we had Dickie's blessing too.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they went down and they spoke all about it.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, Dave Spiro was the manager.
Okay.
So the group has the blessing of the family.
Oh, that's nice.
And the manager.
Right.
But there's a lot of bands out there, so trying to sort of.
But hopefully people recognize from when you play with Dickie, like these are those guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool.
Did you play with Dwayne?
I have played with Dwayne a couple sporadic times, sitting in with Dickie after I left the band, when Dwayne was there. I actually sat in with Dwayne and Devin, in Torrington, one night a couple of years ago.
Wow.
So yeah.
When Dickie put the
I played. It was kind of historic. Dickie had like a last run of a couple shows, and we were with JMO, and in Macon, Georgia, they had this big 2-day festival, and Dickie was playing the Opera House, and JMO actually got up on stage and played one. We played Whip and Post.
Hey, that's cool.
And I was invited to be part of that, so it was really, really. I mean, it was a historic moment because that was the last time, first time since everything had happened, and the last time they played together. So
wow, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
When Dickie first put a show together, was it? I wasn't familiar with it. Was it his tunes from the Allmans and then new stuff, or both, or all mixed up, or?
It was mostly his tunes from the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
But yeah, and he was bringing back some of the more obscure stuff that they had tried but didn't do a lot.
Right.
But then we did a couple of Matt's tunes.
Yeah. That's cool.
Immortal. I think there was another one that was in there for a little while. Mark May had some tunes when Mark was originally in it.
Okay.
But it was mostly drawing from,
Yeah. And how
the
familiar?
Betts side archives of the Allman Brothers.
And how familiar were you? Not enough to even know there was a black drummer, so you know what I mean.
Well,
me neither.
Well, that's
not really my.
But this is 10 years after I met JMO, so I mean,
yeah. By then you're kind of schooled.
Yeah, and I'd been to the Beacon, and
Yeah, got the whole vibe.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, it was a learning curve.
Yeah,
and still, playing. A lot of people are like, "What's the saxophone player doing up there?"
Well, what is the sax player doing up there? Well, like you found a.
I did my best to find a niche.
Yeah.
But it was.
But Dickie wanted it.
Sonically, it was difficult because, I'm standing in front of the marshals.
Yeah.
He could never hear me correctly.
Okay.
Because I would have to be pumped so loud through the monitors that I'd be feeding back.
Yeah, sure.
So, and then plus, I realized I learned a lot about the whole visual thing with guitar players because they're looking at each other's fingers, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they get caught somewhere, or if they have to harmonize or something like that, you know. But he couldn't do that with sax, and I couldn't do that, you know. So it was hard. Like, we couldn't communicate in a certain way musically, and I think that frustrated both of us a little bit.
But it was his idea to have.
It was
sax.
absolutely his idea. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And you know, it was an honor. It was It was a total honor.
Yeah.
You know.
That's killer. Cool. What are you up to now that you want to talk about? We got like 15 minutes. Then I'm going to start asking wrap-up questions. You know,
I mean,
make sure that you get everything.
I'm doing sporadic stuff. I'm not doing much leading groups, even though I have some gigs. I have a gig at the Torrington Historical Society coming up.
Cool.
I don't have dates in front of me.
Yeah. Did you know, because Leanne Lovelace new to me-ish, did you know her from She's Up From That Way?
I met Leanne. I knew Leanne when I didn't know her. I just saw her name starting to circulate.
Yeah.
You know, and that her name was Leanne Zarella. And I'd see her like in Waterbury at the clubs with this band, Rubber City something or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't mean to.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
You just can't remember.
Yeah. And she was sort of working her way up. I ended up on this recording with this this guy from Australia who had been living in New York and the States for many years, and he resuscitated this recording that he'd started when he was still living in Australia.
Huh.
And this young kid just, you know, he found it in some archives in some studio, and he put his resources behind it, and they went to Mark Wager's studio out in Roxbury, and she did some backgrounds on it. And I ended up playing sax on it, and so our name both ended up on this record.
Yeah.
And that's how sort of I started getting familiar with her.
Yeah.
And then, so we were both familiar with each other from that, and then we ended up playing like a general business gig or something.
Yep.
And, you know, just...
Like we just did.
Yeah, exactly. So, and
Far
she's
out.
just great. I mean, she just...
Yeah. I just didn't, I don't think I realized that you were up Torrington way. And to me, that's all the same, even though it isn't.
Well, I mean...
She's more like Waterbury, but like that river.
I was
valley.
in New Haven area for 10 years.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
And then I met my current wife, and she was in Torrington, so I ended up relocating up there.
Oh, okay.
So.
Far out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What else? Anything else we didn't talk about?
Well, I'm playing with Ed Fast on frequently lately. Conga Bop, you know, out of his Latin jazz group.
Wow.
Great. You know, he's been doing that for years. He's got a couple records out.
Cool.
And lately he's had Steve Teray, you know, as a guest, which is really great.
Wow.
You know. Steve Davis actually was his regular trombonist, but I think they're sort of trading responsibilities at this point. But it's just great that they were able to get Steve Teray to fill in for Steve Davis. So it's really cool to have.
What's it? Percussion section like? Is it traditional? Is it drum kit or it's the?
Ed plays drum kit.
Okay.
And then he's got conga and bongos.
Sure.
And percussion.
Yep. Wow. That's cool.
So it's great.
Yeah.
I've known Ed, besides Steve Davis, the first guy I met when I was a freshman in college was Ed Fast.
Wow.
So it's not, you know, it's nice that you still have these connections.
Yeah.
And years ago when I was like after freshman year, I was playing with Tony Lee and Ed Fast, you know.
Yeah,
at JC's patio in Old Lime.
Yeah, sure.
What's that beach down there? Sound View.
Yeah.
But that's before they cleaned it up. Man.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Far out. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love Latin jazz. Cool, that's killer. Desert Island albums, 5 albums, approximately.
I am so out of regular listening to records, but I mean, you know.
Really? Why? You're not
Kind of blue. The thing is like some of these records are so in my head, it's like maybe I shouldn't bring that one, but you know.
Well,
Miles Davis, Kind of Blue.
Sure.
Or Birth of the Cool, you know.
Sure.
man, this is.
So you're not like a music listener freak like some people.
I was when I was a kid, and I listened to the radio. I listened to tons of radio.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, I'm not the album thing. I
Yeah.
was more into it when I was younger.
Yeah,
you know. But it's just I'm just so overwhelmed by it all, and I love so much of it.
Yeah.
There's music I'm discovering now that I thought was stupid when I was, in my teens.
Such as?
Like Talking Heads.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I was like, because I was trying to be a jazz guy.
Yeah.
And I also like classic rock, and I like psychedelic rock. I love the Who.
Wow.
I love the Beatles.
Yeah.
Stones were great. All
Yeah.
those bands.
Sure.
And then like the whole '80s thing, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
That just sounded silly to me. But now I love it.
Wow, that's funny.
I love Devo, man.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. Yeah, why
It's
not?
like I get it now. It's like I didn't get it then. I just thought it was like,
yeah.
a bunch of young people trying to be cool or
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to make something new. And they were, and that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm always going back trying to, things that I didn't get. I didn't get
Who's the
it.
bass player with Talking Heads? Tina Weymouth?
Yeah, Tina.
I just saw it. I was watching something. They were talking a YouTube thing, and it's like she had no experience playing music.
Right, at all.
She comes up with all that great stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's
Sometimes.
amazing, man.
That's the way it goes. One of my favorite bass players I ever played with, years ago, I played with a husband and wife team, and we were a trio. And I mean, and she was a singer. She was musical, not an unmusical person,
Mm-hmm.
but he was a great guitar player and singer, and he just taught her to play bass by rote.
Mm-hmm.
And she was great because she had rhythm. She was one of my favorite bass players because it was just boom,
Yep.
like unmovable.
Unoverlearned.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's funny.
But that's a lot of that organic music that we grew up in the '70s. Those guys were all self-taught or whatever, man. They weren't taking.
Right.
But then again, some of them were conservatory trained, like
Yeah,
the Prague. A lot of the Prague guys, what
Yeah,
I mean? So
it all depends.
it takes all kinds.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like Ron Lawrence. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I miss Ronnie sometimes. It's like I was never like super tight with him,
Mm-hmm.
but I loved him.
Yeah,
and he liked
was
me.
the same way.
And like when you lose people like that, it's like I don't miss them every day, but when the time goes by when I would have seen them by now,
Yep.
something inside of you wakes up.
Yep.
And I'll spend, a couple of days going, oh man, I wish I could run into Ronnie again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cool dude. Yeah, like I grew up in Wallingford, and that was the thing. Like you would make the pilgrimage into New Haven and watch him.
Yeah.
And it was like it just was mind blowing.
Absolutely.
You couldn't even imagine. Desert island food. Stupid questions, but I just everybody
Pretty much anything my wife cooks.
Oh, good. That's the correct answer. Wow.
I love sushi. I love sushi, man.
Oh, cool. What was your favorite food before you got married?
I mean,
see?
I could just if you just kept the spaghetti and meatballs coming out.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I would just keep eating it if I didn't,
Yeah. That's funny.
So yeah, definitely Italian also, but
Yeah.
I love Thai. It's
whatever.
I love a lot.
Yeah, that's
A
cool.
lot of food.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Can you think of one show or concert that you attended that totally blew your mind and changed your whole,
Oh my gosh.
Anything that comes to mind?
Those shows when I was a kid, at that workshop that summer with Bob Brookmeyer was the leader, and Joe Lovano and Dick Oates and
Okay.
Nussbaum.
Yep.
Jim McNeely played piano. There was a lot. The thing is, there was a residency, so every night we'd go see him. It was like a night. They had a nightclub set up.
Yeah.
So just night after night after night. That sticks out, but there's so many incredible shows. Seeing Jackie McLean at the Vanguard.
Sure.
He would just raise. It would. You literally feel like you were levitating.
pretty wild.
Oh, the great Slam Stewart lived in Binghamton, New York, and so I used to see him. He used to play in the schools. You know,
wow.
The guy Al Ham, who was the head of the department at SUNY Binghamton.
Uh-huh.
He sort of got that going and got him involved with the stuff, and you know,
cool.
He was he's like one of the top 10 greatest jazz bass players. I mean,
yeah,
really.
right, sure.
Certainly of his generation.
That's wild. And there you were.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
And that's when I decided I want to play music. At that time, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a basketball player and I want to play music. You know?
Yeah, right, right.
But
wow.
I mean, he made it look so easy and fun.
Yeah. You were like,
he was an entertainer, you know.
Yep.
Sang with the bass and everything, you know.
You're like, I want to do some of that.
Yeah.
Cool. That's killer.
So, I feel like there's a lot left unsaid.
Well, you know, anything you could.
Or too much said sometimes.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So what's next? Just whatever. Just teaching, playing, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I should have a pet project, but I don't really have one right now.
Yep.
You know, I'd hang out with Dave Spinoza a lot and done little stuff up with him.
Yeah.
You know, I call him like a unicorn.
Yeah, right.
Because he was always some guy I was interested in knowing about.
Yeah.
And I just sort of met him by accident.
Yeah, right.
Another one of those situations, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very cool. He is quite a character, and I haven't met him. He's an encyclopedia.
Yeah, right.
Self-taught. Like, he never went to college, but he sought teachers, and he learned how to do arranging and orchestration, and it's really incredible.
That's crazy. Yeah. Where's he?
I mean, plus he played on all those records, and he produced records too.
Yeah. He's
up in Salisbury.
Right.
So it's just in Northwest Hills, I should say.
Yeah. You know Tracy Walton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he knows.
I actually introduced those two.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you have it.
I'm the one that facilitated that.
Hey. Well, you know what? Kris Jensen, the facilitator. You know?
Peckman,
that wasn't so bad.
I don't know how you got this out of me.
Hey, you know what I mean?
I didn't overthink it.
No.
Even though I was trying to think
about
it.
Of course, you'll be, if you ever listen to it, you'll be, oh man, I should have. But you can just come back, you know?
Yeah,
you're just trying to get the stories down, just trying to get them to, get them to exist. You know, get the stories down.
Yeah.
So that they're there when we're all vapor or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Got some shout outs. Dave Lavosi.
Hey.
You know.
Yeah.
Leanne, of course, we mentioned.
Sure.
Josh Bruno.
Okay.
Trumpet player. Great trumpet player.
Yeah.
All the guys I mentioned. Ed, of course, but I mentioned them already, so I don't have to double up on them.
Well.
Espada. All the Santiagos. Bless their souls.
Yeah.
The families. Ivan, we still got him.
Sure.
I think that's what I was thinking about. There's been so many chapters.
Yeah.
And so many like little things. You know, during COVID, you know, playing with Hallie and Tim.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, boy, this is like a whole new career.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We did enough of that too.
So, right?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I know. I try not to think about it. Sometimes I think about all my chapters too.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
of course.
Holy crow, it's crazy, crazy. All right. Well, I'm glad you came.
Yeah, man.
Because I wanted you to. So.
Thanks for having me.
We got you.
You know, I'm honored to be here, and I think it's great what you guys are doing.
Oh, hey.
You know.
Thanks. Yeah. Why not? You know what I mean? I'm going to get everybody eventually, and then it'll exist.
You know, I mean, I always felt like an outsider because I wasn't a Shabu.
Me neither.
Know,
well, I wasn't either. So.
Descendant. Well, but you have a little more roots.
Maybe, but not that way. But yeah, I hear you. Well, now we know who you are. You know, we got it. I'm going to press the button. Don't get scared. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Now, hey, it's a little loud. Kris Jensen was here, finally. Thank you. I appreciate it. He parallel parked to be here, which is not his thing. He's like, oh no, I'm the wrong one. Oh, well. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, going over the bridge. We're parallel park in front of the music store with the red neon light. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends to be on the show with me. Have your very own podcast here in our beautiful studio. Dave will tell you how. Kris Jensen, thank you.
Thanks, John.
You got it. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.